sloppy remakes nobody asked for, schlocky Netflix B-movies, and Chris Pine's directorial disaster scraping rock bottom with $130,000 at the box office, 2024 has had its fair share of bad movies. Originally funded by Miramax in 2019 and shelved during the pandemic, it finally limped into release as a desperate offload. Miramax must have known this one was dead on arrival. Russell Crowe gives it his all as an actor unraveling while filming a possession movie, but even his committed performance can't save this wandering mess. The film can't decide if it wants to be a chilling Catholic horror or a brooding psychological thriller, so it half tries both and nails neither. With a $22 million budget and a box office haul of $9.5 million, it tanked hard. Critics tore it apart, audiences slapped it with a D cinema score, and fans couldn't stop comparing it to the last year's Pope's Exorcist. Which, let's face it, didn't help this movie's case. Jerry Seinfeld recently declared the film industry dead, lamenting that audiences just don't care about movies anymore. Bold talk for a guy promoting Unfrosted, a $70 million Netflix outing about the invention of Pop-Tarts. If Seinfeld hoped to prove cinema still has life, this isn't the movie to do it. It's his first stab at directing in nearly 50 years of showbiz, and it shows. The jokes aren't funny, and the cartoonish characters are mostly annoying. It feels like extended Seinfeld bits or SNL skits that don't quite land. A total waste of all-star cast, including Melissa McCarthy, Hugh Grant, and Amy Schumer. Unfrosted feels like a movie no one really asked for, and in many ways, it is precisely that. Biopics are tricky. They need a mix of honesty and admiration. Reagan manages neither. Starring Dennis Quaid as the 40th president, the film opts for pure hagiography, basically canonizing Reagan without so much as a flaw in sight. Critics ripped it for flattening him into a bland caricature, and they weren't wrong. Rotten Tomatoes nailed it, calling the movie cloying and glossy, which is a polite way of saying it's a shallow mess. As for Quaid, let's just say if you watched a random clip, you'd probably guess he was auditioning for a Hallmark movie, not playing a US president. For all its sins, Reagan couldn't even redeem itself financially. A $25 million budget eked out a $30 million box office return. The classic children's book Harold and the Purple Crayon has seen plenty of adaptations over the years. But of course, Hollywood couldn't resist the siren call of a live-action cash grab. Someone thought it'd be a great idea to cast Zachary Levi as a grown-up Harold, but Levi's attempt at channeling childlike wonder in an adult body lands somewhere between cringy and exhausting. Picture Harold as an adult, stumbling around the real world, confused by everything, while everyone is equally baffled by him. Instead of whimsical, it's just awkward. No wonder this one flopped at the box office. Honestly, a straight-up remake of Father of the Bride might have been less painful than this tedious rom-com disaster. Brooke Shields plays Lana, a mom rightly side-eyeing her daughter's turbo engagement to a guy she's barely known for a year. Drama ensues when said fiancé turns out to be the son of Lana's old college flame, who once broke her heart. Cue the predictable hijinks as Lana worries history will repeat itself. It's the kind of overly tangled plot that thinks it's clever, but even the cast looks like they're counting the days until Netflix dumps it into the algorithm void. Lindsay Lohan is back and better than ever. However, the same can't be said about the movies she's choosing to star in. Irish Wish is her second Netflix movie that tries to mix rom-com fluff with fantasy and ends up being aggressively forgettable. Lohan stars as Maddie, a book editor nursing a crush on a best-selling author. After a run-in with a wish-granting fairy, Maddie gets transformed into said author's bride-to-be. It's all leading up to the world's most obvious lesson. Be careful what you wish for. Unfortunately, the movie can't seem to wish its way into being good, leaning on tired tropes and zero surprises. Critics summed it up best: another junky Netflix offering that feels beneath Lindsay's talent. Here's a movie no one asked for: Miller's Girl, an erotic thriller where 18-year-old Cairo sweet Jenna Ortega tries to spice up her Yale admission essay by seducing her teacher, Jonathan Miller, Martin Freeman. If this premise gives you Poison Ivy or the Crush flashbacks, you're not alone. But at least those 90s films had some campy charm. This one, on the other hand, feels like a Wattpad fanfiction gone terribly wrong. It's dated and creepy in all the wrong ways. Critics aren't buying it, and neither are audiences, with a brutal 1.9 rating on Letterboxd. Chris Pine, Annette Bening, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Danny DeVito. How do you assemble a cast like this and still create a disaster? Poolman is Chris Pine's passion project/directorial debut, which proves that enthusiasm isn't a substitute for actual filmmaking experience. Pine stars as Darren, a Los Angeles pool cleaner turned amateur detective who stumbles into a Chinatown-style conspiracy involving city politics, shady real estate developers, and the water supply. The movie flails from one lifeless gag to another, and even its few mildly funny moments can't save it from the crushing weight of audience indifference. Poolman sank to the bottom of the box office with just $131,000 against its $10 million budget. Once upon a time, The Crow was a gothic masterpiece, thanks to Brandon Lee's performance and Alex Proyas's darkly inspired direction in the 1994 original. Even the tragic circumstances of Lee's death couldn't overshadow the film's success, which spawned a string of increasingly irrelevant sequels and a forgettable TV series. Fast forward to 2024, and we've got another reboot, this time starring Bill Skarsgård as Eric Draven. Unfortunately, like every single attempt to bring the franchise to the screen outside of the first film, this one was creatively dead on arrival. Despite its budget, the remake delivers nothing but another grim reminder that some things are better left buried. Imagine being stuck in the middle seat on a budget flight for 80 minutes, and it still being a better experience than sitting through Air Force One down. Catherine McNamara, Shadowhunters, and Ian Bohen, Yellowstone, headline this bargain bin thriller about a rookie Secret Service agent saving the president after a hijacking attempt. This isn't even bad enough to qualify as a guilty pleasure. The action is lifeless, the suspense is dead on arrival, and the movie somehow manages to waste its one redeeming asset, McNamara's potential as a leading action star. Critics called the script so bad it feels like the writer fell out of the plane's emergency door while still typing, and they are not wrong.